Aliens laughed at the broken warhorse. Then a human bought it and changed it forever. The scrap market of Karth Station was never quiet. Massive metal platforms floated in open space, stacked with broken ships, cracked engines, and forgotten weapons from 100 wars. Alien voices echoed through the air, speaking in sharp clicks, deep hums, and long musical tones. Lights from distant stars reflected off rusted hulls and burned armor plates. To most species, this place was nothing more than a graveyard. At the far edge of the market stood one ship that drew more attention than all the others combined, not because it was valuable but because it was ridiculous. The ship was old, very old. Its hull was thick, scarred, and ugly. Deep burn marks crossed its surface like old wounds that never healed. Armor plates overlapped in strange ways, uneven and heavy. The paint was long gone, leaving dull gray metal exposed to vacuum and time. A large sign floated beside it, written in galactic common. Broken human war horse sold as scrap. No guarantees. Alien traders laughed every time they passed it. That thing, one tall insect-like alien said, pointing with a sharp limb. That ship should have died 3 centuries ago. Another merchant, wide and scaled, shook his head. Human ships were always crude, too heavy, too slow. They relied on brute force instead of elegance. A small crowd gathered, enjoying the joke. Someone tapped the hull with a scanner. The readings were a mess, power levels unstable, systems mismatched, internal structure far too dense. It does not even make sense, an avian trader said. Why is there so much metal? No modern ship needs this much structure. The answer, of course, was simple. Humans did not build ships to be efficient. They built them to survive. But most of the galaxy had forgotten that. The ship's nickname was still etched into the hull in faded human letters. Warhorse. Once long ago, the Warhorse class had terrified entire fleets. They were frontline assault ships built to push forward no matter the damage. They did not retreat easily. They did not break quickly. But time changed everything. New weapons were developed. Faster ships replaced slower ones. Automation replaced human instincts. Eventually, the warhorses were retired, sold, or destroyed. This one had survived all of that, only to end up here. Laughing echoed again as another alien added, if humans were still dangerous, they would not leave their trash behind. That was when Elia's ward arrived. He did not stand out at first. He was just one human in a long coat, boots magnetized to the station floor. His hair was dark, his face calm, his eyes focused. He did not laugh. He walked slowly around the ship, one hand resting on the hull. He ignored the dents, the burns, the missing panels. His fingers traced the metal as if greeting an old friend. Elias read the structure the way other species read data screens. He noticed the thickness of the armor, the way critical systems were buried deep inside the ship. The strange layout that allowed parts of the ship to function even if other sections were destroyed. Redundant systems, manual overrides, physical controls instead of fully digital ones. Still here, Elias whispered softly. An alien merchant noticed him and smirked. Human, the trader said, voice dripping with amusement. You recognize your people's failure. Elias looked up calmly. I recognize a survivor. The merchant laughed loudly. This ship cannot fly properly. Its weapons are outdated. Its systems fight each other. Even if repaired, it would lose to a modern patrol craft. Elias nodded. Maybe. The merchant leaned closer. Then why are you looking at it like that? Elias smiled just a little. Because it was never meant to win pretty. That only caused more laughter. Still, Elias continued his inspection. He entered the ship through a damaged side hatch. Inside, the air was thin but breathable. Emergency systems still worked barely. The interior was cramped and ugly. Thick cables ran along the walls. Control panels were scratched, switches worn smooth by human hands long gone. Most aliens hated human ships. They were uncomfortable, inefficient, and demanded constant attention. Elias loved them. He reached the command deck and powered up a local system. The lights flickered, then stabilized. A low hum vibrated through the floor. The war horse was not dead, it was sleeping. Elias accessed the ship's history. Combat logs scrolled past his eyes, battle after battle, damage reports that should have meant destruction, but did not. One entry caught his attention. Hull integrity compromised, continued mission. Another, primary weapons offline, switching to secondary, then tertiary. Elias let out a quiet breath. "That's you," he said softly to the ship. "That's how you were built." Outside, the alien merchants continued mocking. "Buy it if you want," one shouted. "It will cost you less than scrap metal." That got Elias' attention. He exited the ship and walked back to the merchant. "How much?" The merchant blinked. "You're serious?" "Yes." The trader checked his pad. "It is almost worthless. No one wants it. You can have it for the price of the hull metal." Elias transferred the credits without hesitation. The surrounding aliens fell silent. "You actually bought it?" one asked in disbelief. "Yes," Elias replied. "For what purpose?" another demanded. "To remember your lost power." Elias looked back at the war horse, now officially his. "No," he said calmly, "to remind the galaxy." That sparked another round of laughter, but it was weaker this time, less confident. As towing drones attached to the ship, an older alien observer watched in silence. Their eyes narrowed. "This human does not see scrap," the observer muttered. "He sees something else." The war horse began to move, slowly drifting away from the market. Alien traders waved mockingly. "Good luck, human. Try not to explode." Elias stood on the station deck and watched the ship depart. His face showed no anger, no pride, only determination. He knew what the others did not. Human engineering was not about beauty, not about efficiency, not about perfection. It was about refusing to stop. As the war horse vanished into the darkness, the galaxy dismissed it as a joke. They would not laugh forever. The war horse drifted slowly through empty space, pulled by old towing drones toward a forgotten repair dock. The dock was far from trade routes, far from patrol lines, and far from curious eyes. It was the kind of place the galaxy forgot, just like the ship itself. Elias Ward stood inside the command deck, boots planted firmly on the metal floor. The lights flickered again, but they stayed on this time. The air smelled of oil, dust, and old metal. To Elias, it smelled like home. The repair dock locked onto the war horse with a deep mechanical sound. Thick clamps grabbed the hull, holding it steady. Outside, stars burned quietly, watching. Elias took a long breath. "All right," he said to the empty ship. "Let's see what they broke." He did not start with computers. He did not start with fancy tools or modern scanners. Elias started with his hands. He opened wall panels, revealing layers of cables, pipes, and armored supports. The ship was built like a bunker, not a machine. Many systems were damaged, but none were completely gone. That was the thing about old human ships. They were never allowed to rely on just one solution. Power systems came first. The main reactor was unstable, but not destroyed. Alien engineers would have replaced it. Elias did not. Instead, he rebuilt the supporting systems. He cleaned heat vents by hand. He replaced cracked conduits with thicker ones. He added extra manual switches, even though modern ships no longer use them. "Machines fail," Elias muttered. "Hands don't." Slowly, the warhorse began to respond. Power levels rose, then steadied. The ship stopped fighting itself. It did not become efficient, but it became reliable. Elias worked for days, then weeks. Food shipments arrived by drone. Sleep came in short breaks on a narrow bunk near the engine room. His hands were always dirty. His clothes smelled of metal and sweat. During that time, he removed alien-made upgrades that previous owners had tried to install. Those systems were smart, fast, and fragile. Human systems were dumb, slow, and stubborn. Elias rewired the controls so each weapon system could work alone. If one failed, the others would still fire. He added physical levers and buttons next to digital panels. He made sure the ship could still function even if the main computer went dark. The warhorse became heavier, stronger, different. Far away on the edges of known space, scanners began to notice something strange. An old human warship listed as scrap was showing activity. "Impossible," one alien patrol officer said. "That ship cannot support that level of power." "But it is," another replied, "and it is increasing." Rumors started to spread. Some said the human was crazy, others said he was desperate. A few whispered that humans were planning something. Elias ignored all of it. One day, while repairing a secondary engine mount, he found something unexpected. Behind a sealed panel was an old message etched into the metal. "If you're still flying, you're still fighting." Elias stared at the words for a long moment, then he smiled. "You built it right," he said quietly. "I'll take it from here." The final stage was weapons. The warhorse's main cannons were outdated. Their targeting systems were slow. Their fire rate could not match modern ships. Elias did not try to make them faster. He made them harder to stop. He reinforced the barrels. He replaced fragile power couplings with solid physical connectors. He installed backup ignition systems, then backups for the backups. He also added something the aliens would never understand: manual aim assist. If the computers failed, Elias could still fire by hand. When the final system came online, the ship let out a deep, steady hum. It was not smooth. It was not elegant. It was alive. Elias leaned back in the pilot chair, exhausted but satisfied. "That'll do," he said. The warhorse was ready, not perfect, not modern, ready. That was when the warning alarm sounded. 3 ships dropped out of jump space near the dock. Pirates. They were fast, sleek, and armed with modern weapons. Their hulls were clean. Their engines purred with advanced technology. They laughed when they scanned the dock. "Is that an old human wreck?" one pirate captain sneered. Another laughed. "This is a joke. That thing belongs in a museum." They opened a channel. "Human," the pirate leader said, "power down your ship and leave. We don't want to waste ammo on scrap." Elias did not answer immediately. He checked systems. Engines online, weapons charged, hull holding. The warhorse did not need permission. Elias smiled. "No," he said calmly. The pirates paused, then they fired. Bright energy beams struck the warhorse's hull. The ship shook, alarms blared, panels sparked, but the armor held. "Direct hit," one pirate said. "Why isn't it breaking?" Elias pushed the engines. The warhorse moved, slowly but with purpose. The pirates fired again. One of the ship's shield emitters failed instantly. Any modern ship would have lost protection. The warhorse did not. Its armor absorbed the impact. Metal bent, but it did not tear. Elias returned fire. The main cannon roared, a deep thunder that echoed through the hull. The shot missed, but it forced the pirates to scatter. "Targeting is slow," one pirate shouted. "Then get closer," the captain ordered. That was their mistake. At close range, the warhorse did not need speed. It needed strength. Secondary weapons came online. Then tertiary. Each system fired independently, creating chaotic patterns the pirates' computers could not predict. One pirate ship took a hit and spun out of control. Another lost engines. "Fall back," the pirate captain yelled. The warhorse kept advancing. Its engines groaned. Its systems screamed warnings. Elias ignored them. "This is what you were built for," he said. The pirates fled, jumping away in panic. Silence returned to the dock. Elias exhaled slowly. The warhorse was damaged. Burn marks spread across its hull. Internal systems reported failures, but it was still flying. Elias looked at the damage reports and laughed quietly. "They said you were broken," he said. "Looks like they were wrong." Far away, pirate distress logs spread across the underworld. An old human ship had fought them off. Not with speed, not with elegance, with endurance. Across the galaxy, attention began to turn. The warhorse had survived its first fight, and the laughter was starting to fade. The pirate ships ran fast, their jump drives tearing open space as they escaped. They did not stop laughing until they were far away. Then they checked their damage logs. One ship had lost half its engines. Another had internal fires that refused to die. Sensors showed something impossible. The old human ship had not fought like a modern vessel. It had endured. Those logs spread quietly at first, moving through pirate networks, smugglers, and black market traders. A single phrase appeared again and again in different languages. The ship would not stop. Meanwhile, the war horse drifted away from the repair dock. Its engines were damaged but still working. Its power output was unstable, yet steady enough to keep moving. Elias Ward stood on the command deck looking at the damage reports. Sparks fell from the ceiling. A warning alarm beeped and then went silent. He turned the alarm off manually. "You did good," he said to the ship. "Now let's get you somewhere safe." The warhorse moved toward a quiet star system near the edge of human space. It was not an important place. No large stations, no fleets, perfect. While Elias repaired systems, the galaxy began to notice. An alien trade convoy arrived at a nearby station and shared the pirate encounter. The story changed as it spread. First version, a human ship survived an attack. Second version, an old human ship defeated pirates. Third version, a dead warship came back to life. By the time the story reached the larger powers, laughter was gone. At a coalition listening post, alien analysts replayed sensor data again and again. They slowed the footage. They zoomed in. "That armor should have failed," one analyst said. "But it didn't," another replied. "And look here. When one weapon system went down, 3 more activated." A tall, thin alien commander folded their arms. "That ship is wrong." "No," the analyst said quietly. "It is human." The commander frowned. "Humans abandoned these designs." "Did they?" the analyst asked. "Or did they simply stop needing them?" That question spread fear. Back aboard the warhorse, Elias worked without rest. He replaced burned cables. He patched cracked armor plates with thick metal slabs. The ship grew uglier but stronger. Every repair followed the same rule. If it can break, give it a backup. If it can fail, give it another way to work. One night cycle, the warhorse received an unexpected transmission. It was not a pirate signal. It was a military channel. "Unidentified human vessel," the voice said. "This is Coalition Patrol Group 7. Power down and prepare for inspection." Elias froze for a moment. Coalition patrols were not friendly. They were careful, nervous, and armed. He considered ignoring the call, but running would only confirm their fears. "This is Elias Ward," he replied calmly. "Independent salvager, human citizen." There was a pause. "Your ship is listed as scrap," the patrol commander said. "Yet it is operating at combat levels." Elias smiled slightly. "Scrap doesn't always stay scrap." The patrol ships arrived. 5 modern alien vessels surrounded the warhorse. They were clean, fast, and full of advanced systems. Compared to them, the warhorse looked like a relic, but scanners told a different story. "Commander," an officer whispered, "the human ship has multiple independent power lines. Its structure density is extreme." The commander narrowed their eyes. "Human," they said, "what are your intentions?" Elias looked at the stars beyond the view screen. "To fly," he answered. "And not die." The patrol commander studied him. "You fought pirates recently." "Yes." "You survived." "Yes." Another pause. Then the commander said, "Proceed, but know this, your ship has been noticed." The patrol ships jumped away. Elias exhaled slowly. "That could have gone worse," he muttered, but the message was clear. The galaxy was watching now. Days later, the real test came. A border station sent a distress signal. Pirates, many more this time, were attacking supply lines. The local defense fleet was outmatched. Elias received the call by accident, or maybe not. He stared at the message for a long time. He was not a soldier, he was not a hero, but he was human, and the war horse was ready. "All right," Elias said quietly. "One more run." The warhorse entered jump space. When it emerged, chaos filled the system. Pirate ships swarmed the station. Defense vessels burned and drifted powerless. The pirates laughed as they fired, until the warhorse arrived. At first they did not notice it. Then someone shouted, "That ship again!" Weapons turned. Fire slammed into the warhorse from every direction. Shields failed instantly. Armor bent. Internal systems screamed. Any modern ship would have died. The warhorse pushed forward. Elias fired everything. Main guns, secondary turrets, old missile racks no one used anymore. The firing patterns were messy, unpredictable, impossible for pirate computers to calculate. One pirate ship exploded. Another lost power. A third slammed into an asteroid while trying to evade. The defense fleet stared in disbelief. That human ship, it's still advancing. Pirates focused all fire on the warhorse. The ship slowed. Systems failed one by one. Elias switched to manual controls. "Come on," he whispered. "Not now," the warhorse answered. A backup engine ignited, then another. The ship lurched forward, firing at point-blank range. Pirate morale broke. "Retreat, retreat now," they fled. Silence returned to the system. The defense station was damaged but alive. The warhorse drifted, scarred and smoking. Elias slumped in his chair, exhausted, but smiling. Across the system, cameras captured the moment. An old human warship, broken and burning, still standing between civilians and destruction. The footage spread everywhere. Alien news channels, military briefings, civilian networks. The message was clear. Humans were not gone, they had just been quiet. And when the galaxy laughed at their past, humans remembered it. At the center of it all, the warhorse drifted in space. Not beautiful, not perfect, unbroken. The warhorse floated in silent space after the battle. Smoke leaked from broken vents. Pieces of armor drifted away like old leaves. The ship looked finished, but it was not. Inside the command deck, Elias Ward sat still for a long moment. His hands shook slightly from exhaustion. Warning lights blinked across the panels, but none showed total failure. The warhorse still had power, still had air, still had life. Rescue ships from the defense station slowly approached. Their crews stared in disbelief at the damage the human ship had taken and survived. "This ship should be in pieces," one alien officer whispered. "But it's not," another replied. Elias allowed docking clamps to connect. Medical teams offered help, but he waved them away. "I'm fine," he said. "Check the station first." That answer surprised them. Humans were supposed to be emotional, loud, proud. Elias was calm. The warhorse was towed to the station for emergency repairs. As it entered the docking bay, cameras recorded everything. Every burn mark, every cracked plate, every scar. The footage spread faster than anyone expected. Across the galaxy, screens lit up with the same image. An ancient human warship, still standing. Alien governments reacted quickly. Emergency meetings were called. Military leaders demanded answers. Engineers argued loudly over data that did not make sense. "That ship violates modern design logic," one expert said. "It ignores efficiency," another added. A third spoke softly. "It ignores failure." The truth was simple. Human ships were not built to win cleanly. They were built to lose slowly, and then keep going. Soon, Elias was summoned. A coalition council requested his presence. Not as a criminal, not as a hero, as a question. He stood in a massive chamber surrounded by beings from dozens of species. Some looked curious, others looked afraid. At the center floated the image of the war horse. Scarred, broken, unstopped. "Elias Ward," the council speaker said, "explain this ship." Elias looked at the image. "It's old," he said simply. Murmurs filled the room. "That is not an answer," the speaker replied. Elias nodded. "All right, then here's the answer." He took a breath. "Humans don't throw things away just because they're damaged. We fix them, we adapt them, we make them useful again." An alien engineer interrupted. "Your ship should have failed multiple times." Yes, Elias agreed. It did. Silence followed. It failed, he continued, and then another system took over. And when that failed, another did, because humans expect failure, we plan for it. The council listened closely now. You built weakness into strength, the speaker said. No, Elias replied. We built strength into weakness. That sentence spread through the chamber like a shockwave. What concerns us, the speaker said slowly, is not one ship, it is the idea. Elias met their gaze. That idea never left, he said. You just stopped paying attention. The meeting ended without threats, but also without laughter. Not far away, something else was happening. Human space yards, long abandoned, began to light up. Old docks powered on. Ancient hulls were pulled from storage. Retired engineers returned. Young humans listened carefully to old stories. Stories about ships that did not quit. Stories about war horses. The war horse itself was repaired, slowly and carefully. Humans refused to replace its core design. They reinforced it instead. Alien observers watched with concern. Why don't they upgrade fully? One asked. A human technician answered calmly, because this works. Soon more ships appeared, not copies but cousins, different sizes, different roles, same philosophy, independent systems, thick armor, manual controls, redundancy everywhere. They were ugly, they were heavy, they were human. Pirate activity dropped sharply, not because humans attacked them, but because pirates remembered. They remembered ships that would not stop. Coalition fleets adjusted their tactics. They trained differently. They planned for longer fights, because humans did not end battles quickly. They ended them eventually. Elias stood once more on the war horse's command deck. The ship was stronger now, but it felt the same beneath his feet. Looks like you started something, he said softly. The ship hummed in response. A young human officer visited him one day. Sir, she said, nervous but proud, they're calling this design a new doctrine. Elias raised an eyebrow. What do they call it? She smiled. Endurance warfare. Elias laughed quietly. Figures. Later, an alien ambassador visited the warhorse. They ran a hand along the scarred hull. You humans are strange, the ambassador said. You keep broken things. Elias shook his head. No, we keep working things. The ambassador looked thoughtful. You were laughed at, they said. Mocked. Elias nodded. That happens. And now, Elias looked out at the stars. Now they're quiet. Across the galaxy, the war horse became a symbol, not of war, of memory. It reminded the galaxy of something they had forgotten. Humans did not rise fast. They did not fall easily. They endured. On a distant station, the same scrap market still existed. New traders told old jokes about human ships, but the laughter never lasted long. Because somewhere out there in the dark between stars, old human hulls still moved, still fought, still refused to die. And every species now understood one simple truth: when humans pick something up. The warhorse jumped to light speed, leaving behind a quiet system and a changed galaxy. It was no longer a joke. It was a warning and a promise.